This is the story of the 1988 Shoreline Bicycle Tour. 450 adventurous people riding their bicycles from Three Oaks near the Indiana border to Traverse City. A trip of over 350 miles in 6 days. It would be a hot ride with temperatures averaging over 90 degrees. Well, the staff had arrived Saturday morning at Three Oaks High School to prepare for hundreds of bikers who would be arriving that afternoon. And they were ready. The packets were in order, all the flags and t-shirts ready. This didn't happen in just a few weeks or months, however. The committee had begun the planning process as soon as last year's tour ended. And they had been meeting regularly all year. They were ready, but where were the people? Well, there are two, but where is everyone else? There are over 350 people on this list. 450 people. They've got to be out there somewhere. Or did the computer just make up all those names? Oh well, while we're waiting, we can always put up our tents. Is this the way that thing goes? I guess so. Now let's see, do you pitch a tent under a tree to get some shade or out in the open so you won't get struck by lightning? And finally, our riders arrive.
Pictures of bicycles on the road. But to do that, they need a model release signed by everyone. You go in there and turn right, there's a little head Irishman in there, and they say, Jim, I need to make a
Those people that had already registered went outside to the camping area and started putting up their tents. Now, let's see, where are those tent stakes? I know they were here somewhere. People use different approaches putting up tents. Here's a mother and son team. Kind of looks like mother's doing most of the work. Oh, hurry up, Mom. It's almost time for my nap. And there's Karen from Holland. She borrowed a tent from a friend of hers, and she's never put it up before, so she decided to use the committee approach. Get a couple other people together and pool their vast knowledge. Although it doesn't look like anybody in that committee knows too much about putting that tent up. That third committee member there says, I don't know. You better go ahead and do it. I think I'll go do something else. Here's a husband and wife team with somebody else looking on. Ever notice how some tents look like living things? There's a fish, tree. Maybe that's a beached whale or an iceberg. There's a tent that seems to have a life of its own. Maybe a horse. Whoa there. And that? Why, of course, 2 ears, that's got to be a rabbit. And this one, well, that's kind of the bare essentials, not much there at all. This looks like the story of the 3 tents. There's the baby tent, the mama tent, and the daddy tent. Nice looking family. Well, back to Karen. She's still got one person to help her out there. Let's see, what's under here? Oh, I wonder what that thing's supposed to be and how it got under there. Now, what are we going to do with that? Maybe it goes here somewhere. Now, there's somebody that seems to have the situation well under control. Must be an expert. Well, more bicycles arrived, more people arrived, and, of course, more tents arrived. Now, what's that? A tent or a sleeping bag? Some said it was punishment for people caught riding without their helmets. Winston says, "Where's my tent?" Well, meanwhile, the staff had gotten together to discuss the evening's general meeting.
Site coordinators are in charge. Okay, back up to the top. First thing I want to mention is flags, helmets, and fanny patches. The emphasis is on that. You must have a helmet, you must have a flag, you must have... We're not going to be having those nightly meetings this year. The good news is this is going to be 2 meetings, this one and our final meeting the night in sunlight.
A low mist hung over the campground the next morning. The moon was still high in the sky as the riders got up. There was an air of excitement in the cafeteria as breakfast was served, and people began to meet new friends and anticipate the ride ahead. After breakfast, it was time to take down the tents, roll up sleeping bags, and compare notes on the day's route. Come on, get in there. Must have forgotten to let the air out of his mattress. Remember to pack your bags as far back and as high up as you can. Hey, you're going the wrong way with those. A lot of folks were curious about this van with a huge rack of bikes on top. So we decided to investigate. Hi, that's quite a van you have with a lot of bicycles on there. Where are you from?
Well, we come from Holland, Michigan.
But I'm from Spain. She's from Mexico.
Okay, could you move in there with the other two a little bit? That's great.
Yeah.
And how many bicycles have you got on top of that van?
Nine bicycles.
And you fit 9 people inside the van too?
Yeah.
And where are the other people from?
From Holland, Michigan.
From Holland. I'm from Spain and she's from Mexico.
Yeah. Oh, one from Spain, one from Mexico, and the rest?
2 from Spain, 1 from Mexico, and the other one's from Holland, Michigan.
Oh, and what are you doing over here? You came over here just to ride bikes?
No, we
just came to visit the family because we're friends. And they were going on the tour, so we just came.
I see. Are you doing a lot of riding this summer?
Yeah, well, quite a bit.
Time to leave Three Oaks now and start heading for South Haven.
Take a shot at my rear, that's my best side.
And here we go on to South Haven. Won't be long now. And once we got there, my gosh, look at that baggage. Now how am I going to find my tent and my sleeping bag and my backpack in this mess? Will you look at that? It stretches as far as the eye can see. Now where's that blue bag of mine? Huh, there it is. Now if I can only find my sleeping bag, I'll be all set. It seemed like people were getting a little better at putting their tents up a little faster than on the first night. Well, there's Karen, not quite on her own yet, still has part of her committee to help her get her tent up. Oh boy, that was a hot ride. Let's go take a shower and cool off a little bit. Meanwhile, there were a few other people who hadn't put their tents up yet. Now this fella is being very careful about it. Got to think about this. Make sure it's just right. Is that the way I did it last night? Now is that a tent or a kite? Andrew says, I've got my tent up. Meanwhile, out in the parking lot, we decided to take a look around and see what was going on there, and found a very interesting display of greeting cards specifically for bicycle riders. We decided to meet the lady who did this and ask her what was going on. Hi, do you always sell these cards on this tour?
I sell them on as many tours as I can get to.
Where do you get all these bicycling cards?
From my head.
Oh, you make them yourself?
Oh, yes.
Oh, that's wonderful.
I listen to bikers, and that's where I get my ideas. I pick everybody's brains.
Uh-huh. And you are?
Ruth Decker.
Ruth. Well,
from Dearborn.
That's wonderful.
I'm a cycling saddleman.
Oh, great. And you ride the tour, too, and sell the cards?
I usually do.
Blue. I just don't know.
Oh, there's John Bowden and Dennis Every. Who are your riding partners? Who's your partner there, Dennis?
Well, say, hey, nobody should ever ride alone, and Old Blue and I, we've been together now a couple of years.
Oh, is this, has he been on the Shoreline tour before?
Hey, this is the second annual Shoreline tour, and he's been on them both.
Well, great. John, who's your partner there?
This is an old buddy of Old Blue's. This is Rutherford B. Buzzer. We just call him Buzz for short.
I see.
This is his first year on Shoreline. You know?
Oh, first timer there.
First time.
How's he doing so far?
He's just hanging right in there.
Yeah.
We wondered who looked out for Old Blue and Buzzy on the road until we found a sag van with this guy inside. Ages of the riders ranged all the way from 9 to 83.
Then, Charlie Dennis, how many miles did you go today, Charlie?
About 60.
Boy, is this your first Shoreline tour?
No, I was on it last year, the first one.
I see. And how long have you been bicycling?
14 years.
14 years? How old were you when you started?
60.
60 years old. And I understand you've started doing a few other things too since you started bicycling.
Oh yes, downhill skiing, and this year I'm taking up golf.
Uh-huh. And I understand that you started dancing or taking dancing lessons too?
At 70, I decided it's time for that.
Yeah, how did that happen? Starting.
I just thought I wanted to learn to dance, so I did.
Yeah. Do you have a partner?
Oh yes. Yeah, we're getting married.
Oh, you're engaged.
Oh yes.
I see. And how old are you now, Charlie?
74.
Uh-huh. Well, you plan on taking anything new up next year, or?
No, not especially, but if something comes up, I'll do.
It had been another hot day, and after dinner the riders rested and hoped for a cool breeze. As the sun set, thoughts turned toward tomorrow's ride to Holland. One of Monday's most popular activities was taking the Saugatuck chain ferry across the Kalamazoo River.
Hi, how was the crossing across the river?
Oh, it was just fabulous.
Wasn't too rough?
No, I didn't get seasick at all.
Oh, great. How's the tour going so far?
It's great.
Super.
Just came from a swim way over at the Oval.
Oh, that's great. Well, have a good one.
I told somebody, I said, by the time we get to Traverse City, every flag is going to have so much stuff hanging from it, you won't believe it.
We're trying very hard, dude. We're trying to get him to... Yeah, let's go get him to win sock. Come on. We gotta get you a win sock. I'll donate $1 toward it. I will donate $1 towards you. Let's go get a win sock.
So everybody went looking for wind socks, and it looks like almost everybody found something to hang from their Shoreline flags. When we got to West Ottawa High School in Holland, SAG coordinator Molly Holler got out the bubble stuff, and kids young and old tried their hand.
Yeah, it's not one of those bike
Some folks had a good time just watching. With another 90-degree day behind them, dinner was over, and it was time to relax and talk over the day's adventures. But we found one man who never seemed to relax. With over 450 bikers, there were always broken spokes, bent rims, bulky derailleurs, broken cables, and flat tires, and more flat tires. One rider had 8 flats, or was it 9? Before breakfast and after dinner, on the road and at the campsite, Don was always working. Tuesday morning, it was time to head for Montague. This leg of the trip was the longest and included some fine Lake Michigan beaches. Pump up those tires. Let's see, that feels like about 100 pounds or 110. Come on, Junior, time to hit the road. The refreshment stop at McDonald's provided by the Muskegon Bicycle Club was a welcome sight after the Grand Haven Bridge and the Muskegon Causeway. Here's another great Lake Michigan beach near Duck Lake. Some folks stopped, and some just looked and went on by. The first order of business in Montague was to find a drink and a shady spot to rest in. The road on this very hot and very long day. Hi, Elaine.
Hi, how are you?
I understand this is your first ride.
My first ride.
Boy, and how was it today?
Well, I started out, my water container broke off. I had a blowout shortly after the police escort started. Other than that, it was a great day. Wow.
And what are your impressions of the whole tour so far?
Excellent.
Really? You're having fun?
Beautiful. I'm having a wonderful time.
In spite of the hot weather and everything?
I'm going to buy a new bike before I do it again.
Why?
Because I'm on a 3-speed.
Oh, a 3-speed? You're riding a 3-speed bike?
Yes,
wow.
It's not enough.
How are you doing on the hills? Pretty tough?
Walking.
More people arrived, and once again it was time to put up tents. Well, looks like Karen's on her own this time. Now, what do you suppose this thing is for?
Now, the lucky people who already had their tents up got to do other things that were more fun. The windsocks were wonderful. I wonder if windsocks say anything about the personality of a rider. Some looked more like it was Halloween than the middle of summer. Early Thursday morning, Don was back at work, helping people fix all the problems that developed the preceding day. While he was attending to their mechanical needs, the bikers were inside attending to more basic needs.
Help yourself to one of each fruit.
Meanwhile, Milty was having fun with his windsocks. And he was also having fun with his riding partners. Come on, gang, let's get this show on the road. Time to head for Frankfurt. Watch out for those big hills. Let's see, Killer Hill ought to be right about there. Come on, let's get coordinated here. Now there's the sag driver.
I have to smile.
This is Molly Holler. Molly is one of the sag drivers, the main sag driver, I guess. That is really quite a vehicle you've got there. It's amazing. Looks pretty well organized. What all do you have in there, Molly?
We have all the sag supplies that hopefully that we'll need for the week. One of the main purposes for the sags is obviously to carry water for the bicyclists. It's going to be a pretty hot week probably, so we have all the water jugs. We'll have water and ice and coolers most people will have. The sag boxes that we carry have mainly first aid supplies for the bicyclist, almost anything they will need. I have sagged for bike tours for 6 years now, so through the years we've been changing and trying to decide what's necessary and what things we can do without. So I've kind of fine-tuned things now so that we have the supplies we need. We have all the paperwork that they're going to need to be doing. There's sag banners that they fasten on the front of their vehicles, and then first aid supplies and a couple of bike tubes and that kind of thing. So hopefully anything that comes up through the week, we have whatever they're going to need right in here for them.
How many drivers do you have? How many people are helping out with the SAG services?
We're going to have 9 vehicles this year, and we have a husband and wife team who are sagging, so we'll have 10 people.
And what is your role? Are you the grand coordinator of all these people?
Pretty much, yes. Through the years since I'm on staff, I go to meetings and we get all the details of what we need and how many sags we need and that kind of thing. And then I send letters out to the sags after they have registered and explaining to them, since most of the sags are new, explaining to them what they need to do, what their week will consist of, essentially. And then on the trip, we have SAG meetings every night so that people will be able to report problems, and we can take care of anything that comes up through the day.
Do you ever run into any unusual or humorous situations when you're out driving sag? I imagine you might.
Oh yeah, quite a lot. We do, yes. Especially it seems on Shoreline, because it's such a fun tour and people are out to have a good time, and I think the whole atmosphere of the tour just to really have fun, and to everybody is just strictly on vacation and just out to have a good time. There are a lot of crazy people, and while they are generally very safe bicycling, some of the things that they do when they stop in towns are a little crazy, and even as they stop along the side of the road, and of course the water bottle fights and that kind of thing. But as far as the sagging goes, it's just experiences that we have with some of the individual bicyclists sometimes are a lot of fun, and just, you know, really crazy things sometimes.
Yeah, well, thanks a lot, Molly. We'll be looking. Yep, there it is, Killer Hill. Luckily, there's a refreshment stand on top. How's the hill? It's there.
Okay, that's it.
And Doug, I understand you just rode all the way up Killer Hill.
Yeah, this is the first time I made it this year. I didn't make it last year.
What was it like this time? How'd you do it this year?
Well, some people call it cheating, but I have a different bicycle. It has lower gears on it, but it still was a lot of work. I pedaled on it, and it kind of felt like I was on my wind machine at home during the winter time.
Yeah.
And everything's all sort of faded away, and I felt like I was riding on my wind machine and listening to my Hooked on Classics that I listen to in the winter when I work out.
Was there any time when you thought, well, I think I'll get off and walk, or did you know you were going to make it?
I thought that a lot.
Behind him is a bugger that his daughter Christina rode up in. Rob, did you pedal all the way up the hill with the bugger behind?
Yeah.
What was that like?
Tough.
Yeah, I bet. Have you ever done anything that difficult before?
No.
Yeah, this was the crowning touch for you, huh?
Definitely.
Well, congratulations, you made it, and now you can rest a while and take off again.
Thank you.
Get your stitches here. This is Matthew Keller. He fell down in the shower and had to go to the hospital and get some stitches. I bet you were pretty brave, though, weren't you? Huh?
He'll do anything for a free hamburger.
Will ya? Okay, thanks, Matthew.
All right! Not reading, but he made it.
Whoa, 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 whoa. I get the bike. Don't think you're going to say it.
So there's a young man who pedaled all the way up Killer Hill. Wow, that's some accomplishment. Woo! Will you ever do that again?
No.
No? After a water bottle fight, a drink of water, and a piece of watermelon, it was time to go.
top of this thing?
You're about 3-4 miles.
Here,
Super downhill between here and there.
Big glass of water.
Everyone appreciated the sag drivers, but there were other things to appreciate too.
Best ride in Michigan, right here. Best ice cream in Michigan, right here.
The beach at Frankfurt was great. Different people use different ways of cooling off. Of course, there's the beach, then there's your basic swimming hole. There's the uncivilized method and the civilized method. We were glad to see Frankfurt because that day's ride had been a hard one. Some riders thought they deserved trophies for going up all those hills. It had rained overnight, but the morning looked fairly promising, and folks started getting dried out and packed up.
Get out of town. We're all the way out of here. You can skip that too.
How fast I can go down?
Tents were damp, but spirits were bright.
Taking tickets now. Here, you want the rain? Carry there.
And then the rain returned. Some folks waited too long to take their tents down. Riders found a variety of ways to stay dry. The poncho, the plastic garbage bag, and the leg baggies, or is it baggy legs? And then just your basic windbreaker. This windsock seemed to be the symbol of the morning. But by the time we got to Glen Lake, the skies had cleared and the sun was out.